Hello, Cavaliers. I'm Miss Ponte, and I just want to wish everyone a happy first quarter report card day. So, if you haven't already, you're going to be getting a paper copy of your report card from your CAPS community teacher. And the counselors, we just want to take a couple of minutes today to go over some different things that you should be thinking about while you're looking at report cards. So, hopefully, your report card is what you wanted it to be. So the first thing I wanted to kind of show you is just basically kind of a tour of your report card and what things are. So you're going to see you'll have all of your classes listed here. All of your first quarter grades will be listed. And then if you have any absences for classes, those will be listed here, along with any comments that your teachers gave on your report card. And you can see what the comments mean by looking down at the bottom because each number corresponds to a comment. The next section here has to do with service learning. So if you have hours to complete, your report card will tell you that. And if you do have hours to complete, you can get with Miss Eris. She'll help you get those done because they do have to be completed before you graduate. The next section here is information about state testing and whether or not you've met those requirements. And if it says that it has not been met, it could just mean that you haven't taken that test yet. For example, our freshmen, you haven't taken government yet. So most likely your report card is going to say that your government requirement has not been met. So don't fret. Some of those things will come along the way. Athletics information here, it will tell you whether or not you're academically eligible to participate in athletics, because don't forget you have to have a certain GPA. So keep that in mind, and this is going to determine your eligibility for winter sports really at this point. Then you've got information here about your attendance. It'll tell you how many days you've missed. And keep in mind, you can't miss more than 16 days. Otherwise, you'll be in danger of losing credit for your classes. So be mindful of that. The Board of Education is really cracking down on attendance this year, so make sure you're very thoughtful about that. The next section over here, you're going to have information about your GPA, and you're going to hear from Miss Eris in a few minutes about the differences on those GPAs. And then you'll have information over here about the grading scale and kind of when people talk about the AP bump, what that means if you're converting your GPA. So that's your report card. So you know what you're looking at. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is making sure you're on track to pass your classes because high school is very different from middle and elementary school. Every class counts separately here. And in order to pass a full year class, so your English, math, social studies, science, criminal justice, biomed, anything like that you have for the full year, you need to have a total of 240 points between the four quarters in order to pass for a year. So that averages out to be 60 points per quarter. So if your grade's above a 60 for the first quarter, congratulations, you're on track to pass that class. If your grade is below a 60, you're going to need to do some work in the next couple quarters to earn some of those points back so that you can pass that class and earn that credit for this school year. Now, it's a little bit different if you have a semester course. So that's going to be half year courses, things like PE, health, creative writing, financial literacy, things like that that you only have for a half a year. Now, for those courses, you only need a total of 120 points to pass for the year, which again is an average of 60, but because you only have two quarters, it looks a little bit different. So if you have a half year course and your grade is 60 or above, you're in good shape. If you have a half year class and your grade is below a 60, you definitely want to do some work in the second quarter because you're going to need at least a 70 if you have a 50 in order to meet the 120 points and earn that credit for this spring. Now, for most of the quarters, if you have a grade below 50 for the first, second, and third quarter, it's going to get bumped up to a 50 on your report card. Now, the only exception to that is the fourth quarter. You get what you get for the fourth quarter. So if you get a 10 in the fourth quarter, you get a 10. There's no bump to 50. Now, semester courses, again, are a little bit different. You get a 50 for the first quarter or for the third quarter if you have it for the second half of the year. But then that second semester of your semester course, or second quarter rather of your semester course, you get what you get in terms of grade. So there's no bump to 50. So make sure you're working hard to earn your credits because every class counts in high school. Now, Miss Harris is going to talk about athletic eligibility.
Hi, this is Miss Harris. I want to talk to you about athletic eligibility. I know there's a large percentage of students interested in participating in our athletic programs. In order to be eligible, the report card leading into the season, you have to have an average for that quarter of 70%. So a lot of you are interested in going out for basketball, indoor track, wrestling, the winter sports. So we just having a report card. So if you add up each grade of this quarter, An example is the second part of the slide. And you divide by the number of classes you have, and your average must be a 70. You can have one failing grade. Like in the example I gave, one failing grade, that person has a 67%. Now, if that first number might have been an 80 and not a 69, you add it up, and even though they had a 50 or 55 or a failing grade in there, if that overall average was over a 70, you're eligible. If it is below a 70, even with no Fs, you're not eligible. So 70 is the magic number. And if, let's say you're in the season, somebody can become eligible with an interim, but they can't lose eligibility because of the interim. That's up to your coaches. You know, a lot of coaches don't want to necessarily take a chance on someone getting eligible at the interim, since they didn't have the best track record leading into it. But you cannot attend a competition if you are ineligible. Another thing I'd like to clarify is what's the difference between cumulative, year-to-date, and current GPA? Your current GPA is kind of what I just talked about. What is your average for this specific quarter that's happening right now? It's your current GPA. Your year-to-date is based on all the quarters you've had so far this year. So right now, you really only had one quarter this year, but come May, you will have had 3 quarters. Come June, you will have had 4 quarters. So year to date is what it is for that one school year, your overall average. And then cumulative is for what your average is for every quarter of every year you've been in high school. If you're a freshman in June, it's year to date and cumulative will be the same thing because you've only been in school 1 year. But as you become a sophomore, junior, cumulative is looking at every quarter in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, and then what is your overall average. And that's generally what colleges and scholarship programs and internships and things are looking at, is your cumulative.
Good morning, Dr. Perry here, and I'm here to talk about the number of credits needed for you to move to the next grade level at the end of the school year. So if you are currently in 9th grade and you're moving to the 10th grade at the end of the school year, you need 5 credits to move up to the 10th grade, and 1 must be your freshman year English. Then to move from 10th grade to 11th grade, you need 11 credits and 2 English credits. So that means that you need your 9th grade English and your 10th grade English in order to move up to the 11th grade. From 11th grade to 12th grade, you need 17 credits, and 3 of those must be Englishes. So you'll need your freshman year English, your sophomore year English, and your junior year English. In order to graduate, you either need 23.5 credits if you are a current junior or a senior, or you need 24 credits to graduate if you are a current freshman or a sophomore. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Verlich here, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your GPA. That's the number that we get by calculating your grades from the first quarter. And I know a lot of you have been working hard, and some of you might have gotten the average or GPA that you want. Some may have not, but it's still not too late to bring those grades up and reach your goal as far as your GPA. And, you know, it's important to think about that as you move through each quarter, because they all go together to form your cumulative GPA. And that's eventually what's reported to colleges. It, you know, could qualify you for scholarships. And I think, you know, at the high school level, too, something that's important to keep in mind, that GPA is also something that determines your eligibility a lot of times, maybe to play a sport or be involved in an activity. So down below, you can see the scale that's used when figuring out your GPA. You know, you're calculated on a 4.0 scale. Basically, an A is a 4, a B is a 3, a C is a 2, and a D is a 1. A failing grade you don't get any credit for. So always be trying to, you know, do the best you can in each and every class to get your GPA up as high as you can. It's even a little more detailed, and I'm going to jump to another slide here. And you could see on this slide exactly how things are calculated, and you know, so it even gets down to some smaller percentages, you know. So to really get a 4, you need a 93 to 100, and a 90 to 92 is actually only a 3.7. So you know, every little point there can make a difference when figuring out your GPA. And also, if you look on the right of this scale, you can see that AP classes count for a full point higher. So there really is some value, not just in, you know, putting an AP class on your transcript and maybe learning more, but also there's some value in how it helps your GPA. So that's something to keep in mind, you know, as you're picking your classes for next year. Good luck with things moving forward. I think everybody can reach the goals they're setting. You know, just remember to work hard and you can get to where you want to be.